Hello everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of Prismata. We'll jump in the queue and find out who we get matched against. In the meantime, let's watch Zezatel versus Bonsai. Playing a 20-second game. Certainly faster than anything I ever play. What is the deal here? Third NG, I guess, because Centurion? Sure. Oh, and then I guess we're gonna get Deadeyes on the way there. There's great red sinks as well, so that's good, I guess. I don't have a specific... I imagine you get a Sinestra or two at some point as well, but you probably can't get very many even behind a Centurion, because you don't want that much green, probably, right? Sometimes I wonder, like, if you like go into Deadeyes and your opponent is in a position to respond with a really strong attacker like Sinestra, like, you're gonna lose, right? Unless there's some, like, the reason you went Deadeye is because Centurion's in the set, but, like, can you ever get into a spot where you're trying to buy Deadeye because you think your opponent is also going high econ, and then suddenly they get, like, Sinestras? Oh, I like this. Saying, forget this stupid high econ Centurion stuff. My opponent's getting Deadeyes, I'm just gonna Ice Blade him to death. That's kind of cool. Although, do you really want to Ice Blade a guy who has 17 drones and 2 Blast Forges? Maybe I'm crazy, but it seems like Bonsai's just gonna chip away at the drones until we can't build Ice Blades. And then, in the meantime, won't have that much trouble defending. Yeah, I like... Wait. Why did we buy the Animus if all we were going to do is sell the red back with Smorkus? That puzzles me a little. Maybe the point of Smorkus is that you're not necessarily selling it back. You buy a Smorkus to make it bad for your opponent to not get a wall. And then, if they do get a wall, you're like, alright, I'll get some Tarsiers now. Just bumping one attack into the wall. But, like, I don't know, we followed up with another attack here. I'm puzzled about this. I think I take back what I said about liking Zezatel's approach. The Deadeye is getting you below 14 drones is a really big deal. And the enemy has good tech sinks in both colors. And then they can just, like, I don't know. The Centurion is going to be a bit tough. Because the problem with Centurion is, against freeze is you have to, like, be prepared both for them to freeze your Centurion or to freeze other stuff, killing your Centurion. And so you have to over-defend by quite a lot. You know, it would be great to be absorbing 5, but of course, you know, how likely is that? Yeah, honestly, no idea who's winning. And since we're not getting matched with anyone, I wonder if these two are, like, the only ones in queue at the moment? How do you, is this how you look up the thing? Yeah, 29 people online, pretty low. Okay. Now I think Zezatel's winning again. Right, like... Maybe you can get this Centurion. Yeah. Yeah, this is defended. Wow. It's defended enough, that is, that you can get the Centurion. The Zezatel didn't have a way to freeze enough stuff to breach the Centurion, but he could freeze the Centurion to breach other stuff, which actually was quite good because it kept Bonsai below 6 attack. And it looks like we're just dead here. Yeah. All right, now I'm confident in declaring a winner. All right. Well, if I had to pick, I'd rather play Bonsai. I tend to lose against Zezatel, and I don't know if I always lose against Bonsai. I don't really remember, but at least I'm not like as afraid of Bonsai. Any minute now, Bonsai will rejoin the queue and get matched with me, right? Okay, well, I guess, I mean, I don't know, we can go watch that game, why not? There were a couple of cool, one or two games I think I favorited to look at, but here we go. Look at that, it's Bonsai, who could have guessed? Why do we even need a matchmaking server? I can make my own matches. Base +5, 45 seconds. Ooh. Basically just like no attackers. I think you go wilds, but I'm not sure that you actually go Deadeyes. Attackers are going to be good pretty much like all game. You don't. There aren't any good attackers, but there are wild drones to kill, and so you're perfectly happy to build any attacker, which is sort of a condition you would not want to be met if you were getting Deadeyes. So I think we're just getting like Tarsiers and Militias and wild drones. Pick up a couple Galvanis eventually. I don't think Kit should be good. Do I go DA? That's probably wrong, right? Because it means I don't. I even have to float in energy unless I went like 1-1A, and I don't think there's really any justification for that. I could go D1B. Or just, yeah, I mean D1B. Start getting militias. I don't think there's a very good reason for that, though. What would be the other line? Like 2C, just because like Gauss cannons are fine, I guess. This is just too few drones. I guess I have to get the conduit. I don't like it very much, but I think it's my best play. Next turn, buy a Tesla coil, right? Win the game? Ugh. Well, it shouldn't be too hard to get up to 3 attack relatively comfortably, right? We get a militia, and then we get, like, Gauss cannon plus another attacker. Can I get, like, GGW next turn? I can't, right? I'm $1 short. Maybe $2 because of this. Now I could get GGW if I click my militia, which is kind of nice. Although I'd be floating in energy still. Alright, well, on the other hand, my opponent is red. I don't think it's that important to get up to exactly 3 attack. 2 will be fine against like his engineer or whatever. Oh, also, opponent's building a rhino anyway, right? Yeah. So this militia is going to be fine. Just getting clicked against the rhino. Actually, I'm not sure why I thought that decision was relevant. Opponent will rhino, but I still want 3 attack next turn. I don't know. I guess, like... Do I want 3 attack, though? Like, killing their engineers and starting to get at their, defenses is still fine. I don't know. I really wish I had been player 2 in this game. Red is, like, just so great. Maybe I should have, like, tried to force field to get out one more attacker last turn instead of wall. Not worry about the fact that I wouldn't be absorbing, because I won't be anyway. Why did I click my militia? That was obviously a bad play. I should have either like clicked it and clicked a Galvani, or not clicked it and killed an NG. Clear blunder here. Very bad play. Yeah, and now I'm just way behind now. They even have these rhinos. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, it's like impossible. I could never win from here. Let's just get this game over with. All right. I'm gonna jump in the queue here before we start analyzing, because it does seem like there's not a lot of people playing at the moment. I want to get queued up. So I mean, I don't know, just a ton of like, ugh. I don't know. Could I really go 1-1-A here? I don't think this is an aggressive enough set to justify that. And I think DA would just be worse. I think it really would have been quite good on this turn to build like Force Field, Splitter, Gauss Cannon or something to get up to 3 attack. And who cares that you're not absorbing, because you're not absorbing anyway. Player 2 this time. Okay. Well, I don't think we want anything red. The blue seems like pretty strong here. But like, green blue is probably also fine. I don't know though. Like getting Lance Tooths is gonna be just so disgusting that I think you really kind of need to aim for that instead of messing around with Redeemer. And it would be really great to get a Drake if you can. Do you go 3rd NG? I don't think so. Like, Drake wants a fair number of drones, sure, but Lance-Tooth wants attackers. And there's not really any defenders here to justify spending a bunch of time droning. I don't have... Okay, I don't understand this joke, but there you go. 2 engineers. So I think I just want to go DDC, DDB, Splitter, Gauss Cannon, right? Or actually, Splitter Tantalum would be better. Opponent is going to try Redeemers, I guess. That's good against Lance-Tooth because I can't... I can't deny him Absorb on the turn when these Gauss charges are coming in. Yeah, that's kind of cool, isn't it? What if I said, okay, fine, you want damage? I'll give you some friggin' damage. Have a Drake. I like that idea. I'll have to Force Field to defend the Drake, but... Ugh, is this really good? Lance-Tooth that denies 1 Absorb? I guess it's good. So we'll be threatening 10. Like, Wall Force Field defends, I think, for opponent, but... that means they won't be able to build a second Lance-Tooth, so the Redeemer's not doing much on that turn. Let's just double check. We're doing 10 damage. They can build a wall. Then they have 7. They need 2 Force Fields to defend, which they can do. But they won't be adding more attack. So they're going to be attacking 3. And then, I guess, 5? So I don't think I need this Engineer. I'm going to float it and see if I can do something useful with that. With that $2 next turn. And I probably will, in fact, click this Drake. Because I don't really want all this tech. I just wanted, like, some threat to make their Redeemer turn not be very good. I could get this. Yeah, and now we're still threatening quite a lot next turn, which is pretty cool. Are they going to try, like, holding back Lance-Tooth, clicking Redeemer, and buying another Lance-Tooth or something? So say I do this. This is 7 threat, against which they have a wall and 3 Engies is 5. They're going to have to do some more to defend this. I don't know how good my Redeemer really is. Like, I don't know. It's a pressure play, right? Like, that was the point, and I think it achieved its goal. I'm gonna have to pay for it soon with these Gauss charges. But I have enough green that I should be okay. I'm even gonna try to squeeze in a Tantalum Ray, like Wall, Tantalum, NG next turn. Or no, just one NG, I guess. And then some force fields the turn after. Okay, yeah, okay. That's gonna make things a bit harder, I guess. That is a lot of damage. So they're now doing, what, 8 damage every turn? I'll have wall force field. I need at least 1 NG to defend. 2 more means I don't have to force field. I guess that's okay. Well, are they going to be able to build any more attack? Probably not, right? Yeah, not with these Gauss charges coming in. Or no, they won't be coming in until the turn after. I think I need all these NGs more than I need a conduit. Why didn't I have to build force fields? What did I misunderstand? Oh, because I already have a wall line. Oh no, that was the whole point. I said I wouldn't need force fields. Got it. This drone's way too greedy, right? I think so. Could I, like, float for something good here? I could, do this. That sounds pretty good. Just apply a little extra pressure on the Gauss charge turn. I didn't math it out, but making them hold this Lance Tooth seems pretty good. Alright, yeah, I don't think they can win after losing every single drone they own. Alright, got most of the rating points back there. My opponent made an interesting try with this, like, Redeemer Rush. I'm not sure why exactly that was a good idea. Like, nothing in this set screams Redeemer to me, right? Redeemer wants good absorb, good soak. So that, like, you get a very efficient long-term attacker when you build Redeemer. What you pay for that privilege is you have to deal with 6 damage. And if you couldn't absorb at all, that would be a terrible trade-off. Well, I guess not. I built a Redeemer when none of the damage was being absorbed, and it was fine. So I guess what I would say is that it's a much better trade-off if some of the damage from those Gauss charges is being absorbed, or if it's just really easy to soak it because of Doomed Wall or something, right? Then Redeemer's downside is decreased, and therefore it's just a better unit. And none of that is present here. The only slight thing arguing in favor of Redeemer that I see is Lance Tooth, because Redeemer makes it harder for your opponent to get Lance Tooths. I mentioned that during the game. Drake also sort of argues for Redeemer, maybe, but, like, it would have to be a higher econ thing, where you can, like, you use these units to apply a bunch of pressure quickly, and they both do that, so they synergize together if your game plan is apply pressure quickly. But it's hard to actually get them both on a low econ. you might imagine, like, if you had 15 drones, you could Redeemer plus Blast Forge into Drake or something, right? Or maybe you already have 2 blue and you get Redeemer Wall into Drake, so you're absorbing. Something like that. But just for this Redeemer rush, I don't know, it doesn't seem very good. But it did make it a bit like... I had to go looking for a counter because this wasn't really the build I expected. And I think that Drake was the answer. This really presents a big hurdle for my opponent to deal with. Having a bunch of damage arrive at the same time as their Gauss charges. And I followed up with a Redeemer to keep the pressure on and stop them from advancing past having 5 attack, which is quite a comfortable number for me. And I don't know, Redeemer games often go like this, where like... Or I don't know, maybe they're not supposed to, but in my games they do, so maybe... Either it's like a good way to use Redeemer, or my opponents and I are both bad, but it really feels quite strong to... On the turn when you have a bunch of Gauss charges coming in because of your opponent having built a Redeemer, that's the turn when your opponent is most vulnerable, and therefore a great time to jam in another Redeemer and say, take that. As my opponent is doing here. They said, Alan's got some Gauss charges hitting him. Let's add 3 more damage to the pile. That's, you know, I see Redeemer games go this way somewhat often. I think it might be good, but I don't really know. I'm not an expert. And it was a good try for my opponent. I liked that play. But my larger economy meant I could survive this and keep going. Whereas, you know, opponent is attacking for a bit more. Right, they have 8 permanent attack and I have 6. But I'm up a couple drones, and my Tantalum in the meantime is bringing me up to 7. And I have Drake clicks, so I can turn some of my drones into attackers if I don't need them for something else, by just like spending them on a Blast Forge instead of on whatever else I might want. So I was actually like about equal to the opponent in pressure and ahead in econ. Cool. Well, okay. Let's go back and look at that first Bonsai game a bit more carefully, since we sort of skimmed over it. Look at that, we're out of vacation penalty, by the way. Top 50, how nice. So I pointed out that this play was just absolutely awful. I clicked Militia, like, I don't know why. I forget why I thought this was a good idea. And it could have been fine. Oh, opponent didn't have any... Oh. Opponent didn't have any Galvanis to target. I see. But it still would have been better to leave Militia unclicked and deal the damage, kill an Engineer. Worth way more than $1. Engineers are worth like $3 this game because of Galvani, so... Yeah, I don't know. The whole game was just a disaster. I was never in a good position. Maybe though, like, okay, so here's the thing. I've talked some before about sort of the theory behind the Elliott Animus, which is not a play that I recommend here. You know, just getting an Animus. Well, I guess actually it kind of is. Right, Elliott discovered that, like, okay, everyone knew Fastimus. This was years ago. Everyone knew Fastimus was a good opening for player 2, drone Animus turn 2. Like, that is a good opening that wins in many sets. And it sort of wasn't really clear like what player 1 was supposed to do in red sets. They could go DD, DD, DDA, right? Get a turn 3 Animus, the natural Animus opening. And if it was sort of a set that like favored a somewhat higher econ but was still reddish, that could be okay. But overall in red sets, player 2 just seemed like quite favored most of the time. Well, maybe I'm overgeneralizing, but there were some red sets where it was like player 2's Fastimus is really good, player 1's natural Animus is pretty bad. Like, what are you supposed to do? And Elliot was like, look, the goodness of building attackers goes up every turn. Like, over the course of any Prismata game, that just is a thing that happens. And there's some point where the goodness of building attackers outweighs the goodness of building other stuff. And that's when you should build the first attacker. Or the first tech building, or whatever. Sort of equivalent ways of looking at the same question. But importantly, if player 2's Fastimus is just game-crushingly winning and unbeatable, that doesn't mean player 1 loses. It means that, like, maybe you should go for an even earlier Animus and try to undercut them. If player 2's Animus on turn 2 is so good, then player 1's Animus on turn 2 must be at least playable, even though it looks like an awful opening. And so my problem, the reason I'm bringing all this up again, is that on this line, in this game rather, it seems to me like red is the way to go. Just because there's really no attackers in the set, and you want to get attack up quickly to start killing wilds. And in particular, it seemed like player 2's red would be really good. And if I had a playable blue-green line to counter it, yeah, maybe go for it. And maybe I do have one, although I don't immediately see what it is. But I could have just considered, like, taking the Elliot Animus approach to this set and saying, I just think Tarsiers are way too important this game. Right? And, like, I could say, I know it's a bad opening, but here we go. This is Fastimus, but worse. Sort of. Is it worse? I don't know. It's a turn faster. Well, I don't know. It's the thing Wild Drone always does, right? Where, like, player 1 gets to do a slightly worse version of player 2 openings, which means they come half a turn sooner. And sort of vice versa. Meanwhile, player 2 is doing a slightly worse version of the player 1 natural Animus opening. They get the Animus half a turn sooner, but they're down a drone. Likewise, I get my Animus half a turn sooner than the player 2 Fastimus, but I'm down a drone. So, like, especially with Galvani, this might just be playable. It might be fine. I'm not sure, but, like, it seems at first glance kind of okay, doesn't it? Right? I mean, it's kind of a slog. We're both, like, not a slog exactly, but we're both, like, on the brink here of some kind of disaster befalling us. I'm not sure about the details. Probably just 2 Galvanis is better than another wild, isn't it? Oh yeah, because you still need another Tarsier. Although honestly, like, how about just another Rhino? It's probably past Tarsier time by now. Yeah, and I'm suddenly, like, in pretty sad shape. Yikes. It is really somewhat difficult to see me getting a victory from here, isn't it? I guess actually, like, I'm threatening a breach as well here. So opponent holds a drone, which means they can't spend their red either. And they just get an NG. Alright, this in fact looks kind of like game over to me. If my only defense is this. Yeah, opponent gets through. And I just have nothing. Alright, so... I guess this is even more clearly a losing line than what I actually did. So maybe I was correct to not go for this like kind of Elliot Animus analog. But I wanted to point it out because like this is the kind of thing that theory argues you should try sometimes. Is if you wait for an opening that looks actually good, you may be passing up. You may be giving your opponent a chance for a great opening, right? It's like, as Elliot says, I think in that article, the sort of problem of like, okay, you have two kids and they need to share like some cake or whatever, but like they're no matter how you split it, they're gonna complain that like, oh, the other one got the bigger piece, right? And so the solution is you let one of them cut it and the other one pick which size. Who gets which slice, right? That way they're both like, who can really complain there, right? One of them said, that one's the biggest, I want it, and they got it, so like they can't possibly complain. And the other one, like it was their job to cut the cake as evenly as possible. If they made one slice bigger than the other, like, you know, they have no one to blame but themselves. And okay, maybe that's not exactly the way you would say it to a kid, but that's the idea. In the same way, choosing when to go for a tech building is sort of the same thing. You don't want to like wait until building tech is astoundingly good, because then your opponent will undercut you by getting it when it's just like, yeah, pretty good. And if you see your opponent who has one that's like very good, you can try undercutting them even with something that looks mediocre, because if yours is mediocre, theirs is going to be pretty good. Anyway, so I could have tried that because this is what theory argues you could go for in a situation kind of like this. But I think just going for green-blue like I did was also a fine try, and I'm not sure if well, clearly I executed it poorly, but I'm not sure if it would have won if I had executed well, or if I was just like toast from the beginning in this set. Yeah, there was a lot I could have done to make things closer, but I was staggeringly far behind, so I don't know. Anyway, I guess that's enough analysis for today, huh? And that brings us to the end of the games we're going to play. Let me check real quick. Do I have any cool, like, favorited replays? There was one that I liked. I favorited 2 games this day, huh? I think you guys have already seen this one. What was the deal here? I don't remember this at all. I'm just like, okay. Oh yeah, Masterbot T'd me. And why was that interesting? I don't know. Oh yeah, it came down extremely close. Masterbot T'd me. And that seemed a little premature because I have all this blue and green, but it did put a lot of pressure on and I had to lose most of my drones. But I was like, fine, I'll just get a couple of Venge Cannons, and then I'll have more damage than you can deal with, Mr. No Drones. And, you know, breached him, killed all the Tarsiers eventually. But it's now like, 2 quite low health Venge Cannons against 3 Gauss Cannons, and opponent has initiative, so I don't know. At this point, he resigns, and I don't know if he's seen the future, but like, to me, it is not very clear who's winning here. It seems very close. I'm up a damage, but opponent's up like 6 health, and one of my attackers is like low enough health that it's pretty easy to kill. I don't know. And it ends up coming down like absolutely to the wire. He puts all but 1 damage on my Venge, and I eventually win. But I thought that was kind of cool. Like, you don't see like 1 hit point mattering that much most of the time. And I don't remember this game either. What's the deal here? I mean, high econ into Ebbs and D-Grid, right? Perforator is great soak, and also like an alright attacker. Yeah. Seems like kind of an early grid, isn't it? Maybe I'm planning something else. Triple Oxide. Okay, so I think my plan actually was, it seems like an early grid, but actually, like, opponent's gonna have 2 damage already on the turn, like, that my grid would be coming in, and they'll be up to 4 if they do the normal thing and build more Tarsiers. So I figured, like, hey, and maybe even more if they, like, build Tarsiers and a Splitter. And they have enough econ that they could do something like that. So I said, look, I'll build this triple Blast Forge so that I'm ready with a grid if opponent puts on pressure. But if they don't, like, I've got plenty of blue stuff to spend money on. So I did this instead. When Masterbot decided to build no attackers. Like, that's Masterbot for you. Oh, actually, this wasn't even Masterbot. This was hit Q to make it rain. I was playing against the casual bots. Okay. And now the grid comes down and it's like pretty good actually, right? Even if it's only absorbing 4, it's like still doing something. Oh yeah, I like this. I thought this was funny because I got 2 Animuses on, like, my 2nd and 3rd Animus together on turn 9. And I don't think it was actually BM. I think it was actually like a pretty okay play. Which is not something you get to see very often, right? We both have a ton of econ, and the best attackers in the set are like Tarsier and Perforator, and there's a blue sync. So my thought was, okay, opponent just built a grid, let's just pour out attackers as fast as we can. And as soon as we've gotten as many Tarsiers as we want, we'll just Perforator away all the red. So that made me smile, getting all that red all at once. Oh, right! The Shiver Yetis, yes! Like, actually getting 4 Shiver Yetis at once to freeze the grid was the actual purpose of all these Animuses. I could have cut one more, but I don't know, Perforators are fine. I wanted to have enough attack that, like, freezing the grid actually matters. Yeah, so that's a cool one. Just get out, like, 4 Shiver Yetis all at once and then get rid of the Animuses again when you're done with them. That's what was cool about this game. And then, you know, Masterbot shortly allowed me to breach. And I got another Animus. Again, not BM. Just like when you have 6 Perforators and you want more attackers, you buy a 4th Animus. So, I don't know. Obviously Masterbot didn't really put up a fight, but I thought some of what I did was kind of funny. Like, you don't end up with C, B, 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 A, 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 A very often. Okay, just wanted to, you know, we had a little time left and I was looking at the replay tab anyway, so I showed you guys a couple selected games from me against the computer. That'll do it for this episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.